Average Woodsman here, back with another video. So today I want to talk about the 10 items that I would personally take on the History Channel show Alone, and this is Africa. So if you don't know anything about the TV show Alone, it's been around, I think this is the 12th season or something like that. Generally, and by generally I mean basically every other season, they've been in cold environments. So Canada, Patagonia, Mongolia, places like that. This is the first one that is different in the sense that it's not in a really cold weather environment. It's in the desert of South Africa. So anyone who's ever spent any time in the high desert knows that it can and does get pretty cold, especially at night once the sun goes down. Especially in those winter months. I spent a lot of time living out in the high desert, so I have quite a bit of experience, you know, backcountry camping, primitive camping, that kind of stuff, out in that high desert, and it can get cold below zero, especially at night in those colder months. So you still have to prepare for that, but the difference is during the day, it's very hot, very dry, and the sun can really beat you down. So the items that they're allowing on this season are different than other seasons, previous seasons. It doesn't look like you're allowed to carry or trap at all. So that's going to take a food source out of the equation. You can still hunt, you can still fish. So what I'm going to break out my items. I'm going to go item by item and talk about each one's what I would carry and why, and kind of give you guys my opinion on what I would carry. You know, I've been watching the show since the first season, and I've actually been applying since probably like the third season. The farthest I've ever made it was like the video call. That's the farthest I've ever made it. I've never made it any further than that. I would love to be on the show, but apparently I don't meet their criteria. So I want to show you guys what I'm going to carry, or what I would carry if I was on the show. Let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, here's all my items spread out, and well, kind of. So I thought about bringing my Spetsnaz, my Cold Steel Special Forces shovel, but I decided that I would not bring this, and I would actually bring my Pathfinder Forest tool. So this is going to be the first item I'm going to discuss, and I'm going to give you the rationale why I'm not actually going to bring my Cold Steel shovel. So with this being the type of tool that it is, I can use this as a machete, which is going to be very important in the South African bush. I can choke up on this and do finer carving. I can get onto the actual blade when I'm doing skinning tasks and things like that. I can baton with this tool. I can use this by crafting a piece of wood and attaching this to this, and use this like a draw knife. I can use the back portion of this to scrape hides. I can use it as like a spoke shave to shave things down like wood and things like that. I can use this obviously to chop with like a machete. It just has more versatility than a shovel that has a sharpened edge on it. Yes, the Cold Steel shovel is a great tool, and it does a really good job at what it is, but if I absolutely need to dig, I can always craft a digging stick. So I chose to take this tool instead of my Cold Steel shovel for all the reasons that I just explained. Another cutting tool, obviously a heavy-duty multi-tool. The reason why I would take my Surge is because it's my most trusted multi-tool. I've had this for probably close to 10 years. It has a really good locking blade, so I can do finer carving with this. I can do skinning. I can process fish and things like that, other animals that I may need to. It has scissors, which are really important when you're out in the woods. People tend to underestimate scissors. It has a really good saw. Also, on my sheath, I have a file on it. It has other tools, but one of the most important ones, especially when you're going to be doing fishing, which I'd be doing a lot of fishing, which I'm going to show here in a second, once I get into my bush pot, you're going to need pliers. Pliers are super important, so having this tool is is going to be probably my main tool that I'm going to use most of the time. I'm going to get into this bush pot. So I have some items in this bush pot that I'm going to talk about really quick. First, let me discuss the bush pot. So if you guys have been watching my channel for any amount of time, you know that I have the Pathfinder 1 quart bush pot. This is the 2 quart. I just got this recently. I have not got to use it yet. So it's still brand new, but this is the pot I would bring with me. Because I have so much experience with the 1 quart bush pot, it's been beat to hell. It has, I mean, so many miles on it. It's been loved and abused, and it just holds up, and it works really well. The design of it is good. I can hang this pot. I can use this as like a frying pan to cook out of. I have these butterfly handles, so I can pour this pot if I want to drain this, and I can use this to boil water. And then in conjunction with my bush pot, I would have a stainless steel water bottle, so I could boil and dump into this. Boil, dump, and I could stay hydrated. And I would also be able to carry this around with me because this fits right inside of a cargo pocket. So I could carry this around with me, and I can stay hydrated while I'm out there. Because when you're in that type of a environment, being hydrated is going to be one of the most important things, if not the most important things, because of the simple fact that you can suffer from hyperthermia, which means that your body is hot. It gets so hot that you can actually have what's called like a heat stroke. So being able to hydrate myself and carry water with me. Also, this is another stainless steel container, so I can boil in this if I need to. I can make char cloth in this. I can do a lot of things in this. And, you know, it's just a useful piece of kit. Also, if it gets really cold at night, which it does there, it can get really cold, below freezing. I can always fill this up with hot water and put this inside of my bedding with me when I'm using my wool blanket. So having 2 heavy-duty stainless steel containers is going to be really useful in that type of environment. Also, I would carry a wool blanket. A wool blanket is far more versatile than having something like a bivy or something like that, like a bivy sack, which I saw some people bring. My wool blanket, I can wrap this around me when I'm around the camp, around my fire, because being made out of 100% wool, it's not going to burn holes in like synthetic material. Also, I can use this as a type of a tarp. I could tie this out on the ends and actually use this during the hottest part of the day if I need to, as almost like a makeshift tarp. Also, I can roll up in it at night to stay warm. Like I said, in conjunction with something like my stainless steel bottle being filled with hot water. There's all different types of techniques to stay warm, and if you have a good heavy-duty queen-size wool blanket, you're going to be able to stay warm in cold environments, especially if you're dressed appropriately. Another item I would carry, a saw. I'd carry my big boy, my Silky Big Boy. I can process a lot of wood with this. I can do a lot of things. Once again, this can also be used as like a draw, as like a hide scraper. I could scrape hides and things like that with this. It has a lot of uses, and I can process a lot of wood. I noticed that there's not a lot of like timber out there, but one of the first things that I would do if I were out there is I would work on my shelter. I would set up passive fishing methods while I was building my shelter. And yes, even in a place like that, you need a shelter because you need to be able to stay out of the hottest part of the day, that midday heat. So having a good, robust shelter is still going to be important. It doesn't have to be something like, something like you'd have in the Arctic, but you still want a robust shelter. So having this is an important piece of kit, which is also multifunctional. I would carry a big Farro Rod, the biggest Farro Rod that I can carry on that show, which is this one. This is, I think, 8" by 1/2 inch. This is the Farro Rod I would carry. I would not mess around with trying to make a fire with by friction, like a bow drill or a hand drill or something like that. I don't want to waste time. I don't want to waste calories. I want to be able to get going right off the bat and be able to make fire so I can cook food, I can boil water, all those types of things right off the bat. This is an important item to have in your kit. Obviously, you can have either Bankline or you can have paracord. I would choose Bankline. The reason why I would choose Bankline is because of the simple fact that you can have something insane like over 1,500 feet of Bankline. I would carry Bankline because in general, Bankline is just more useful in the woods, in my opinion, than paracord. I know a lot of people really like paracord. I have paracord, I use paracord, but Bankline, for me, in my opinion, a tarred mariner's Bankline is going to be more useful. I can do more things with it. It's designed for things like fishing, and it's going to aid in that. I can build shelter with it, I can fish with it, I can make, you know, like trot lines, I can make bank sets, I can do all kinds of things with Bankline. I just prefer Bankline over paracord, and if they give me the option, which it seems like they're doing on this season, I would carry Bankline because I can carry more, way more than with paracord. You're only allowed something like 80 meters. That's like, what, 260 some odd feet? I can carry over 1,500 feet of Bankline. And even if it's not number 36, I don't know what size they allow, but even if it's not number 36, if it's something like number 12 Bankline, that's still more useful in my opinion than having 80 meters of paracord. Obviously, food, if you've ever watched the show, is super important. So having food items, being able to you know, catch food, kill, you know, procure food is going to be important. That's why I would carry 300 yards of 30-pound test. I would carry 300 yards, the maximum, and the maximum strength, because from what I understand and what I've read, what I read doing research for this video, apparently they have some really big catfish in that lake. So I'd want the maximum amount that I could have in weight, in pound, you know, in tensile strength, and then I would have, you know, 25 assorted hooks. I'd have different size hooks so I could catch smaller fish or, you know, really large catfish. Another thing that I would do, I would focus initially on, while I was building my shelter, I would have passive fishing methods. So what I would do is I would, you know, maybe set up some trot lines using my Bankline and using my my fishing line with my fishing hooks. I would probably make some bank sets like snares, if you're allowed to do that. I don't know if you're allowed to do that, but if you are allowed to do that, that's what I would do. I would not stand in one place and just have like a stationarily throwing a line out. One thing I do want to discuss really quick is bank fishing. Fishing from the bank of a lake, a river, a creek, whatever it is. I see too many people, especially on the show alone. I don't know if these people have not done a lot of bank fishing in their life, but they stand in one area and just throw their line out over and over again for hours. The way you fish, the way you correctly bank fish, is you start in an area and you do a fan casting method. You cast out in a fan motion. Then you move to the next part of the lake. You walk down, or creek or stream or whatever it is. Then you walk down and you cast out, and you move on to the next area and you cast out. You don't stand in one area for 3 or 4 hours casting out in front of you over and over again. You're wasting time, and you're basically, basically relying on blind luck. So I would not do that. I would try to fish as much passively, because you don't want to stand out there in the hottest part of the day. So fishing in the morning and fishing at night would probably be your best bet if you're going to stand out there and throw a hand line. But I would do a lot of passive fishing, and if I were to bank fish, I would move down the bank of my specific area, casting and trying to catch something. And I would also, if I was able to do any type of trapping, whether that be small animals or such, I would probably try to catch some like mice or rats or something like that and use them for bait for the catfish. That would probably be like the first thing that I did, was maybe set up some figure 4 deadfalls or something like that and try to catch some mice and then use those as bait. The last item, certainly not least, would be my Sage Recurve. This one right here is one of my favorite items. I've had this thing for a long time. I've been using it for a long time. It's an excellent piece of kit, and I would use this to hunt along with 10 arrows, some small game tips, and some big game broadheads. I don't know all of the rules for that part of the world, but I would bring whatever I was able to secure as much food as possible for, you know, my survival in that specific situation. As you notice, I went pretty tool heavy. With my specific skill set, all the years that I've spent out in the woods, if I have the items, like if I have the tools, I can make it off the landscape. I can craft it off the landscape. That's the whole point of bushcraft and survival. So having tools is more important to me than carrying things, you know, like additional food items and such, because if I'm able to, I can craft everything I need off the landscape as long as I have the tools. Alright guys, so that's the video. I thought this was kind of a cool and unique topic because of how different this season is than the other seasons. That's kind of why I did the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. You know, drop the 10 items that you would use if you were on Alone Africa down in the comments. I'd like to see what you guys would choose. You know, see if you guys would, you know, my list matches up with your list, or you guys would do something differently. Remember to like, subscribe, share these videos with your friends and family. If you could, go down and follow the affiliate links in the description. It really helps support the channel. Also, if you guys want to become a Patreon, my Patreon is down there. Remember to be safe, stay dangerous, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.